Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am so happy you're with us today. What we're talking about today, to start out, we're going to talk about what's normal with aging. What happens when we turn 40, 50, 60, 70? What is the aging process like? And people say to me all the time, well, Dr. Joe, I don't know if I'm normal, if I should have this situation. And many times there's a difference between, well, there's always a difference between normal and average. When people say, am I normal? It's actually, am I average? So let's say we take 100 people and we take their blood pressure. And then we take that number, divide it by 100, and that's the average blood pressure that that people should have in a certain group. Well, that's average, not normal. Normal is usually better. And so like when I give blood, for example, I donate blood often. And when I donate blood, they put the needle in my arm and I tell them my blood's going to come out faster than what you expect. And it's also going to be a little redder than what you expect. And usually they listen, but sometimes, I remember one time the guy like blew me off, like, yeah, whatever. And then all of a sudden he came back and my bag was full of blood. And he said, oh my gosh, wow, you weren't kidding. And I said, no, I don't eat animal products. My blood is very good flow. It doesn't have a very high viscosity. And so my blood flows very easily. And so that's normal, not average. So if you have a good diet, if you're eating right, taking supplements, getting chiropractic care, taking care of yourself, keeping the brain stimulated, we're going to talk about that today too, then that's what you should be. So we're going to talk about what most people are at your age and what if you're doing it right, you're not going to be like that. You'll probably be 10, 20 years younger. Okay, most people peg me for about 10 or 20 years younger than I am, which I'm perfectly okay with that, as a matter of fact. So let's start with the brain. When you get into your 50s, more brain function than you had when you were 25. And I think I can attest to this because you're thinking a lot better, a lot clearer, which is good too. Now, it might dip a little around mid-50s. Don't dwell on that. Some experts believe you'll mentally slow down as you age, but you can also make that up. And I'm going to tell you how to make that up in just a second. One way to preserve your brain power is follow a good diet. So if you're eating a lot of saturated fats, meats, butters, cheese, yogurt, eggs, ice cream, those saturated fats can clump your red blood cells together. And red blood cells clumped together doesn't carry oxygen as well. And you can test this on your own. It's not really rocket science. One day, eat really well. Eat like I eat, have salads and fruits and vegetables. I had a big bowl of blackberries this morning. I had my super greens and essential source, of course. I start my day with that. And then see how you feel that day, that night, see how you sleep. The next day, eat the standard American diet. Maybe have some sugary cereal in the morning, have some coffee, maybe a donut in the, mid-morning, and then have a lunch, maybe some pizza, some sandwiches with cheese on it and some meat. Dinner might be steak or hamburgers. And then see how you feel after that. See how your brain works. This is an absolute, no pun intended, no-brainer. If you want your brain to work properly, you got to feed it. You got to give it the right fuel. If you're giving it the standard American diet, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, there's no way your brain can function as well as it should. It can't. It doesn't have the right fuel. So it's really easy if you want brain function to continue as you get older to give it the right diet. The other thing you want to give it is oxygen. The brain needs oxygen, stimulation, and nutrition. I gave this talk to a patient the other day, and I had an intern, somebody who's just following us around for the day, and I talked about oxygen, stimulation, nutrition. I talked about it real quick, and at the end, we walked out of the room, and the intern looked at me, the intern doctor, and he said, that was unbelievable. I have never heard it put so concisely and so clearly and so quickly on how to make the brain function more efficiently. He said, I've been going to school for 8, 10 years, whatever it was. And he said, I'd never heard it like that before. So that's what's cool about these shows is we really give you information that even doctors don't know. And that's why we have a lot of doctors listening. Any doctors listening, hello, glad you could be here. And we try to break it down so simple that anybody can understand it. Because then if you can understand it, I can understand it. Because I'm not that smart either. So we got to look at oxygen. And that has to do with breathing. So if you have bad posture, if you're hunched over, you're compressing your lungs. If you have scoliosis, compressing the lungs. If you have acid reflux, heartburn, the stomach is pushed up against the diaphragm can't drop down and suck air in. You're compressing the lungs. So oxygen is really important, and a lot of oxygenation comes from structure. If you're hunched over, if you have bad ribs, if you have arthritis, if you have, like I said, scoliosis, those are things that chiropractic care oftentimes has amazing results with, including acid reflux and heartburn. My team of doctors, we can actually adjust the stomach or pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm. I teach all my doctors how to do it. And the reason I teach my doctors how to do it is because I have this problem. And when my stomach acts up, I have to get one of my doctors to pull my stomach down away from the diaphragm. And it works really well. It works great. And signs you might have, we talk about this almost every show. Acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, bad breath, stinky breath. That's oftentimes we just need to fix the stomach. And those are signs. Take the warning sign. Okay? They're telling you, the universe, whatever your body is telling you, hey, something's wrong, fix me. Many times you don't know how to fix it. So we're giving you the hints. So we want to get the stomach working. We want to get the brain fed. And then the brain also needs stimulation. And this is really important. I had a patient the other day, and he's in a wheelchair. He's got a very strange condition where his nerves are unsheathing. The covering around the sheath of the nerve is coming off, apparently. No one really gives him a good diagnosis. But since we've been treating him only a couple of weeks, he's much stronger than he used to be. He still needs help walking and standing up, but he's able to control things a lot better. And it was really neat because his hand is getting weak, and his wife was sitting there, and she was stroking his hand, holding his hand and stroking his hand, which, by the way, was just spectacular. And I said, you need to stimulate those nerves. I said, exactly what you're doing. And the wife looked at me. She smiled. He smiled. Because you got to get input up into the brain. So physically, we can get input up into the brain, but we can also get mental input up into the brain. Right now, listening to this show is stimulation for your brain. Because you're learning new things already. In just 6 minutes, you've learned a couple of new things probably. And so that alone is stimulation for the brain. So if you go to our website, drjoe.com, and we have over 1,500 hours, probably 2,000 hours of podcast there, audio and video. Listen to those podcasts. You're gonna hear things repeated, of course, because not everybody listens to every show. But you're going to hear new tidbits, new fun facts, new little pearls, gems of health information. That's going to help stimulate the brain as well. So mental input is really important, as well as physical input, as well as chemical input. So that's how the brain works great. What I do, my protocol, people always ask me, Dr. Joe, what do? You seem to have a good functioning brain at your age. I take super greens and essential source. That's the minimum supplements everybody should take every day. I take omega-3 fatty acids. I take vitamin D. I take nitric oxide. And I take B complex. Now, all of this is on the website, drjoe.com. You can order all those supplements, super green, essential source, nitric oxide, omega-3, and vitamin D. That's my brain protocol. I have an immune protocol. I have an energy protocol, but this is the brain protocol. And I take those pretty much every day. I'm not pretty much every day I take it. And I couldn't imagine not taking it. Now, with the nitric oxide, be careful. If you take too much of it, the recommended dose is 4 tablets, 4 capsules. I take 2 in the morning and then maybe 1 or 2 in the afternoon. I can't take it at night. I can't sleep. So just a thought for you that'll help the brain function. So that's important. Mental health. What's going to happen to your mental health as you get older? 95% of people who are 50 or older said they're satisfied or very satisfied with their lives. Younger people, not so much. And one of the thought processes behind that is that when you're young, you're still doing stupid things. I know I did a lot of stupid things when I was young. We probably all did. And now that you're older, you're saying, okay, I'm not going to tolerate stupid people. I'm not going to tolerate people not being nice to me. I'm not going to tolerate a lot of things. And so you're much happier in your life. So as you get older, something to expect is you'll actually feel happier. And you don't want to be alone, of course, because loneliness is something that can cause depression, and that can be an issue too. And so if loneliness is an issue with you, the nice part is we have the internet. Find some groups that you're interested in. Go out if you're like I'm a member of an Italian group. I don't go there. I haven't gotten there in years. But I'm Italian, so there's Italian groups. There's vegan groups. There's get-togethers. There's singles. There's whatever you're interested in. A knitting group, a hiking group. And join a group, and that'll give you at least people to hang out with. And you'll make new friends, because it's really hard to make friends when you're older. I mean, I think we all say this, right? When you're in school, well, I'm on a football team with somebody, or I like somebody from school. I'm going to hang out with them. We're not in an institution like that anymore, and you pretty much have your work, and that's about it. So you can join groups and find something you're interested in. That's going to help tremendously with your mental health. And as you get older, it's even better. Now, as we get much older, into senior years, one of the big complaints I get from patients and family members is, I wish I had a friend. Everybody wishes that. Everybody in their 70s, 80s, 90s, I wish I had a friend, or more than one, but they don't know where to meet them. Because again, less and less social interaction. So that's where senior groups, senior housing might be a good idea. I'm working with a huge senior housing group to try to change the diet that they feed these people. Because I've been in these senior housing groups, even the high-end ones where you're paying thousands of dollars a month. They're still serving potato chips and pretzels and ice cream and soda. And it's like, no, that's really not good for the mental health of their occupants. So I'm working on that. That's a whole nother story, though. The immune system can get weaker. And that's something we have to be wary of, too. Of course, with COVID, everybody was saying, the very young and the very old are high risk. But it's more likely for the immune system to malfunction as well. And it can also start to attack itself by accident. That's called an autoimmune disease. We're going to cover that, I think, next week. We're going to cover sunscreen and autoimmune diseases. We got that covered for next week. So tune in for that. But what I do for my protocol, for my immune system, I avoid the 7 deadly sins: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. Supplement-wise, I take super greens and essential source, vitamin D, probiotics, and glutathione. So pretty much the same protocol I take for brain health, I take probiotics and glutathione. And again, it's all interrelated. So that's another thing that I add to my nutritional protocol. Now, all the supplements we talk about are on the website, drjoe.com, or you can come by our offices. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. We would love to be your doctors. Wouldn't it be cool to have a doctor that wants to get to the cause of your problem and not just treat the symptoms? So we have chiropractic division, we have a supplement division, we have medical division. In fact, just yesterday I got treated by my medical doctor with something called exosomes. He injected it into my spine where I have an old fracture to try to stimulate new growth. It's not going to be like it used to, but it works really well. And so we have a medical division as well. We can do medical tests. We can do blood work for allergies. We can do hair analysis. And if you go to the website, drjoe.com, just look under services. You'll see all the services that we have to offer. And pick one. Pick them all. I mean, these are all the things that I do for my health. Everything on there, I do. And so whenever I find something new that I'm going to do for my health, I add it as a service to the practice. Because I want to be around for a long time. I like having younger friends. And I like having energy. And I want you to experience that same thing, too. And there's no reason why you shouldn't, by the way. There's nothing I'm doing that you can't do. It's not like I have some secret formula or I have some amazing genetics. No, not at all. It's the exact opposite, actually. So I want to do everything I can to share this knowledge with you so you can deal with it. So that what we're talking about is what to expect as you get older. You don't have to expect these things because you've been proactive. If you're not proactive, this is what to expect. Hearing, 40% of people over 50 have some hearing loss. There's aging that plays a role. There's genes that play a role. Blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes. All of this can affect your hearing. So if you can get a hearing test done, of course, to see where you are. In fact, I had one done not long ago. And what we found was that I had some loss of hearing in one of my ears, slightly. And the doctor who did my test, she said, well, did you used to go to clubs a lot? Because she's around my age. And I said, yeah, we used to go to clubs a lot, stand in front of the speakers. She goes, yeah, that's usually just from too much noise. Now, that can happen with the younger generation who are wearing earbuds all the time. So there is a concern that there's going to be a hearing issue coming up very soon with the younger generation who have been using headphones and earbuds for a long time. It's probably going to be an issue. So don't do that. It's pretty simple. But hearing can be an issue. My father was deaf. If you don't know my story, my father fell off a ladder before I was born, broke his back, fractured his skull, went deaf immediately. On impact, he went deaf. So he lived his entire life, never heard my voice, ever. And he used to come to I used to be an actor, so he'd come to my plays in high school. He'd come to my football games, my hockey games. I was a swimmer. He'd come to my swim meets. And, I mean, what great support. For a guy to come to a play and watch a play for hours and have no idea what anybody was saying. This is way before closed captioning or anything like that. So I understand what it's like to have hearing loss in your family. It's not fun. So be careful about that. Now, again, if you're taking care of yourself, the chances of having hearing loss drops. Just like the chance of getting anything drops. Not zero, but it gets a lot better. And so that's why in our office, again, we try to offer as many services as we can to try to keep you as healthy and as young as possible. And the cool part is, like if you have back pain, let's say, chiropractic is the most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain out there in most cases. So why wouldn't you start with the most effective, least expensive treatment? And then if we need to do PRP or stem cells or injections or medication, but start with the basics. And then you can, I call it escalation of care. We can escalate the care if necessary. Why wouldn't you do that? I don't understand why everyone with pain doesn't just line up outside our office and say, check me out, Dr. Joe and company, and see if I'm a chiropractic case or not. If I am, let's do this first. So that's what I'd recommend you do. And if you do want to make an appointment, you can do it right online, drjoe.com. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. Just go to the website. You have a little map of each one of our offices. Click on the map, make an appointment right online. People do it all day, every day. My staff will call you. We'll say, hey, Jake, you got your message through the website. Let me explain everything to you, how to make the appointment. The initial visit And actually, we discounted the initial visit originally because if you paid full fees for our visits, it would be over $500 for the first visit. We reduced that to $375. Now we've reduced it to $249. And the reason we're doing that is so that people can make it can be affordable for you. We accept almost all insurances. We do the filing for you. We take Medicare. There's no reason why you shouldn't be in our office. And if you don't have insurance, over half our patients don't have insurance. It's so affordable that I can't imagine why you're not doing it. So if you want to make an appointment, go right online, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. And so we're talking today about what to expect as you get older. Your bones can get weaker. Osteoporosis sets in. That's a big issue. Now, what I've found in my career is that most people with osteoporosis, it's not that they have too little calcium. Because think about this. What changes for your diet when you're young to your middle age to your old age? You're still eating the same foods mostly. Why do you have a calcium deficiency? It's not a calcium deficiency. It's that you're using up too much of the calcium that you have in many cases. What does that mean? If you eat an acid diet, high acid diet, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, those are acid foods. And when you put them in your body has to neutralize that acid. And the body uses calcium as its primary neutralizing agent. So when you put acid in your body takes calcium out of the blood, out of the muscles, out of the bones to neutralize the acids. Keep eating an acid diet over decades of time, you're sucking calcium out of the bones faster than you can put it back in. So taking more calcium doesn't usually solve the problem. Going to a low acid diet solves the problem. And we did a whole show on osteoporosis. If you go to the website, drjoe.com, just type in osteoporosis. You can listen to a whole show on that. But that's the gist of it. So again, I avoid the 7 deadly sins. I eat mostly fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. And be sure you're taking enough vitamin D3 with vitamin K2. Because D3 is an essential nutrient. You have to get it from an outside source. And there's 2 places you can get it from, supplements or the sun. Now, if you're out in the sun, we're going to talk about that next week on sunscreen and sun safety, but I take vitamin D3 with K2. Vitamin D3 helps you absorb the calcium. Vitamin K2 drives the calcium into the bones so that it doesn't float around in your blood or get stuck in the muscles and build up calcium in your muscles and tissues. You want to get it into the bones. So taking calcium is not going to help because you need vitamin D3 to absorb it and vitamin K2 to get it into the bones. And if you're changing your diet and not using up the calcium, that usually solves the problem. The vitamin D with D3 with K2 is on our website, like all the other supplements, drjoe.com. That's the one I take. Dosage, I usually take about 5 drops a day for the average adult. Now, if you're out in the sun a lot, 20 minutes a day, at least 3, 4, 5 times a week, you probably don't need vitamin D. But you still need K2. But that's why I take the D3. I have the dosage, the level in your blood is usually recommended about 30 nanograms per milliliter. That's like the medical dosage. Studies have shown if you can get your vitamin D level up to 60 to 80 nanograms per milliliter, and again, that's how we measure it in the blood, your risk of viral infection drops dramatically. Wouldn't it be nice to have something that was really inexpensive, really easy to take, doesn't have any flavor to it, and can lower my risk of viral infection? I just gave it to you. There you go. Other things that happen as you get older. That's what we're talking about. What happens when you get older? And by the way, folks, that's why chiropractic care is so amazing, and you could start it at birth. Because if the bones are lined up properly, they grow straight for children. That's why I think every child, I can't imagine, I don't know why every child isn't, forced to get all these other tests. They should be forced to get a chiropractic evaluation, or suggested. I don't want to force anybody to do anything. Suggested to get a chiropractic evaluation, because that's the approach that I like to take with children. And also, if the bones are out of place, over the years, they rub up against each other and they wear out. That's called osteoarthritis. So how do we avoid osteoarthritis? Line up the bones. It's a mechanical problem. There's other things that go on too, but it's like the tires on your car. If they're out of alignment, they wear out. So that's why I strongly advise that everyone get a chiropractic evaluation, even if you have no pain, because 90% of the nerves don't feel pain. You can have a pinched nerve and not know it. So one of the easiest, quickest, most simplest things to do to keep your body flexible and young and healthy and strong and the joints moving is to make sure they're mobilized, and that's chiropractic care. So once again, how do you slow down the aging process? Make sure the joints are lined up. I had a patient one time come in. She was 102, 3. I can't remember what it was. It was my secretary's grandmother's. And took an x-ray of her, and she was fine. She carried a perfect conversation. She walked. She was slow. I mean, she wasn't skipping down the halls. But I took an x-ray of her, and she had no arthritis in her neck, which is very rare. And I said to her, I said, this is amazing. She goes, when I was a child in the Midwest, my mother took me to a chiropractor, and he practiced out of his house. And we used to bring chickens or potatoes or whatever and pay him in food and trade. And so it was amazing. And she said, the doctor told me I should get a chiropractic evaluation or adjustment once a month. And she goes, and I've done that almost every month of my life. And here she was in her early hundreds, no arthritis in her neck whatsoever. So there was living proof that obviously that worked. So just something to consider, that if you keep the joints lined up and mobilized, there's proof that it does work out there. That'll help with the muscles. That'll help with the joints. That'll help with your skin, because you need good circulation. And if you have a bone out of place pinching a nerve, you're also going to pinch blood vessels. And that's why a lot of times patients come to us and they'll have shooting pain in their legs, they'll have numbness, they'll have tingling, cold feet, cold hands, and we give them chiropractic adjustments, and we open up the nerve and blood supply to the arms and legs, and they're amazed. My gosh, Dr. Joe, it's amazing. I feel better, because it's not just pinched nerves that happen when bones move out of place. It's also pinched blood vessels. And so circulation is a key. I take as a part of my supplement as well nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a supplement, and it opens up the blood vessels. And as you get older, your natural nitric oxide production drops. Boom, 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 boom. And so what can we do? Give yourself some extra nitric oxide, open up those blood vessels. The warning I have to give you with nitric oxide is this. If you have low blood pressure, you probably don't want to take it, because it could lower your blood pressure even further. If you have high blood pressure and you take it, it may lower your blood pressure. If you're doing that and taking medication, you're going to have a double whammy. So your blood pressure might get too low. So if you're on blood pressure medication and you take Dr. Joe's nitric oxide, monitor your blood pressure. If it gets too low, you then need to go to your medical doctor and say, hey, this is my new blood pressure. Can I cut back on my medication or cut out my medication? A lot of people cut it out. So that's another way that can help, because the medication, by the way, has side effects. And so that's what I don't want you to have, is not only medication, but the side effects of the medication. And all medication has side effects. It's by definition. So if we can get you off the medication, that's better for your liver and your heart and your blood vessels in most cases. And so nobody loses if we can get you off those medications. I can't do that. I'm not a medical doctor. So we can have your medical doctor say, yes, you know what, Jake, your blood pressure is getting better. We are going to start to reduce your medication. But you need to have your primary or medical doctor do that for you. As we get older, sometimes our hair turns gray. And something that I found about 10, 15 years ago, I started turning a little gray. And so I did a hair analysis, and we can do that here in the office. And I found I was low in selenium. So what I did was I started taking a selenium supplement, and my gray hair went away. Now, I'm not saying that's why you have gray hair. I don't know if that's it for you, but that's what happened with me. And so because of that, I don't have gray hair. In my age, almost everyone I know has gray hair, and I don't. And so I may have two, actually. I think I have two gray hairs. I can't lie to you. So it does work if in some cases. So the hair analysis is something else we can do for you. So, folks, I'm going to have to wrap it up here. If you have any questions, go to our website, drjoe.com, wrapping up this segment of the show, drjoe.com. If you want to make an appointment, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. The visits are up to $500 for the first visit. We've reduced that to $249. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first adjustment, the next visit going over the x-rays, and a complete nutrition evaluation. So if you want to get well, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, do it right now. Go to the website, drjoe.com, and make an appointment. I don't see any downside to it, except hopefully you'll get better. And like I said, we take most insurances as well, so there's no reason not to do it. And if you've ever been in a car accident, if the car was damaged, you were damaged, you need to come see us right away. Again, what's the website? drjoe.com. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Follow us on social media at Dr. Joe Esposito. Be right back.